Welcome to the Thrive Today podcast. I'm Natalie Born. I'm the media host for Thrive Today and the founder of Innovation Meets Leadership. We are a podcast for women who lead and believe. Today, we are speaking with Troy Korsgaden. Troy is a highly sought after insurance and financial services consultant. He is the principal of Korsgaden International, a consultant, a speaker. He's written 6 books, and his mission is to help the insurance industry and its representatives wake up to the radical transformation taking place in the insurance industry. And of course, he's also written an article in our Thrive Today magazine. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your article. I'd love to, after someone's written an article, just tease that out a little bit more, because sometimes there's a lot more behind what we wrote. And so you talk about building relationships with customers and how it can be more important than the sale. I would love to just learn a little bit more about that.
With no doubt. Yeah. The customer is in control of everything today, and people buy from people they know and trust. They do business with people they know and trust. And to keep them, you need to keep the relationship strong. So it's super important to be authentic, but also to stay connected. Stay connected the way they want to connect and meet them where they want to meet.
I would love to learn a little bit about what are some of the ways that you find customers want to be met today? Like, what are some of the ways that they want to be connected with? What do you find most effective in building a relationship, especially when you're starting from scratch?
You bet. We do a program called the Introduction Program. So we intentionally block time to stop off and meet people. You can't have enough friends if you're in business, right? So you have to meet people constantly. And then we're all busy. We're in high demand in our personal lives and our business lives. And so you need to block time, make an appointment with yourself to stop off on your way to work to meet somebody. And that's easy. There's a lot of places we drive by and we never even think about. We need to just be intentional, make an appointment, stop off. Don't stay more than a minute or two. Just introduce yourself. And that starts the process. On your way to lunch, you do the same thing. On your way back from lunch, you do the same thing. And then on your way home, that's 4 opportunities a day. And there's a lot of people. Usually when you open the door, there's a lot of employees working for the employer. But be mindful, the employer has payroll. They need to be profitable. They don't need people that are professional visitors dropping by. They just want to meet people, right? And in and out. And that starts the process. They get used to knowing you. And then intentional again on making an appointment to follow up. In business, it's all about the follow-up. It's not about just one thing that makes you great. It's follow-up, follow-up, follow-up.
I love that. I had a mentor that used to say the fortune is in the follow-up and the follow-through, right?
Sure.
I want to talk about that a little bit more, and I want to parallel that. It's a beautiful thing of what you've laid out for how we can engage with customers, be brief, be brilliant, be gone, right? We're not trying to stay there all day. It's something where we want to engage them, let them know we're here, be friendly, but then also don't disrupt their day-to-day operations either. I want to parallel that as well. Let's say someone's in corporate. I almost want to parallel that into just networking as well. Grabbing a coffee with someone, grabbing a lunch with someone. It's unfortunate, and especially what we're seeing in the economy today when people are laid off. You haven't heard from them for 5 years, and then all of a sudden they're reaching out because they need their next opportunity. I think it's brilliant when people keep in touch with people that matter and mean something to them all along the journey, and not just, I'm reaching out because I need something from you.
And people see it, right, Natalie? I mean, they know, I haven't heard from you in a year or two, and now you're reaching out to me. I happen to know that you've had a job change, if you will. And you need something from me. So I agree with you. It's important to do the work before you ever need somebody. And we call it business development, networking, however you want to say it. And there's a lot of things we can do to stay in touch with people. I believe to be top of mind, whether it's a current customer or somebody that you want to be a customer in the future, or a business relationship like you're talking about in corporate. Again, make a date with yourself. Your calendar is one of the most effective tools you can have. I knew we were going to be meeting today to do this. I also knew I had a little pre-work to do to look at how to get set up and whatnot. I made a date with myself on that. Now, I'm going to make a date with myself to follow up and thank you. If I don't, I'm probably going to forget, even though I've enjoyed getting to know you and having a conversation with you, I have to be reminded. And so my calendar keeps me on cue. So back to the corporate question. How do you get into a position where you're not looking like you're asking for something?
Right.
You're not asking for something if you're constantly in touch. And oh, by the way, I've had a life change. You may or may not know about it. And this is an opportunity to deepen the relationship. And maybe they do know somebody or a number of people that they can introduce me to.
This is so brilliant. I think the idea of just time blocking your time, I mean, you're absolutely right. We go where our calendar tells us to go. We do whatever our calendar tells us to do. So beginning to, think a month out or 2 months out and blocking this time out, whether it's daily or weekly, whatever you can take on, it's probably better than what you're doing today, which may not be much of anything. And so this is brilliant. I would love to learn, what are some other ways in addition to this that we could build trust with our customers?
Yeah, getting to know them well, and look, everybody fears technology. I don't fear it. It enhances the relationship. It doesn't replace it. What do I mean by enhance? You really need to have a view of the whole person or the whole business. Whatever you're doing, you need to know more than your competition does. You got to authentically care, right? Because I don't do business with people that I don't care about. If I can't get enthused about what they're doing and what they're changing in the marketplace, and I probably don't want to do business with them. So I've got to get to know them, their employees. I've got to get to know them personally, their family, where they worship, things that the computer won't know. We all know things before the computer does. And we can get deeper into that, but really the one with the most information wins in business today. And all the information isn't up there in the cloud. It eventually gets up there, but we need to take advantage of the strengths that we have. And again, it's the relationship, knowing before everybody else.
Would you say this is kind of leaning into the 360 approach that you have?
Yeah, totally. Hey, look, if you work in business, and I'm in the insurance industry, they have a lot of information. Probably some of the biggest databases in the world are with the insurance companies, because they know what kind of cars you drive, how many miles you drive, what type of house you have, where it's located, tracking and all that. All of that information is there. But this 360 view that you bring up is so important because, I'm just getting to know you. But I've already now got a database on you because I know a certain number of things, but I need to append data to your record. Because for me to get to know you better, I need to know what your likes and dislikes are. Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a dual income? All these things, the more I know, the more I can connect with you. And let me just give you one example. You may like a sports team. I used to be big in sports. I'm not that much anymore. So I've got to find out what sports you like, because I don't just naturally go there like I used to when I was younger. I like sports, but it's just not top of mind. But you may have a college team. You may have a pro sports team. You may have one person that you like in sports. I need to know that because I can bring that up in the conversation. You may like to snow ski. If you snow ski, I need to ask, how was the snow season this season, right? Another thing is nicknames, kids' names. My wife's great with kids' names. I'm brutal. I don't ever remember the kids' names, but she goes, don't forget, so-and-so's children are blah, 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 their grandkids. She knows the dog's name, right? Every time I connect with some people like their animals more than they like their kids, right? Right. So if I know the dog's name, that's a connection, and then we can relax and we can talk about things, business and things like that. But, the more I have a 360 view of you and your family and your business, the better I'm going to be as far as a business relationship, because again, it comes back to people buy from people they know and trust. They do business with people they know and trust.
This is such a lost art. Taking time to slow down and care about someone's children's name, to care about their dog, to care about some things that are going on in their life, that hobbies, things like that. I really believe this is a lost art in business. And so what I hear you saying is that those that do this, it absolutely sets you apart. It makes you different. It makes you unique. And people, you said it earlier, they want to buy from someone they like. We don't want to work with people we don't like. That's not fun. If we're going to have to work with someone, we want to like them.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, that was always my attitude. And I grew a very, very large business in insurance, and then I grew a big practice in consulting to insurance carriers. But let me tell you where the real sweet spot is. We're all in the same ball game. It's just that some of us are in a different inning. And you may be in the second or third inning of your career, your business cycle. I'm in the seventh or eighth. I may be getting close to the ninth. The sweet spot is this: when you can choose who you do business with because you like them and you have so many choices. And so if I've got a 360 view on tons of people, tons of clients, I can pick up the phone and talk to the ones that bring me joy, the ones that are fountains and not drains, right?
That's powerful. And I want to zoom out and talk about this whole idea of working towards building customer loyalty overall. So I think that what you're leaning into begins that journey, but what are some other ways that you can really begin to build towards this loyalty?
Yeah. Well, let me just start with it. And I everything that guides me is my philosophy. And my philosophy is really important to me. And I think about it. I believe that people want to be loyal. But I also believe you got to give them reasons. And reasons are the power that make people do things. So to do business with you, to stay with you, and loyalty can go out the window in 5 seconds today.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it's not like it used to be. They used to say my daddy was with Troy and his daddy was with Troy and his granddad's daddy was with Troy. They just stayed with me. They don't do that anymore. It just doesn't work that way. There's too much information. There's too much choices, but they crave it. They want consistency. They want normalcy. They want that. But if I don't give them enough reasons, they're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. Price is not the big motivator people think it is. It's a driver. But really, people will pay more for value. That's why you see cars that are more expensive, and you see homes that are more expensive, and boats and refrigerators. And, why do these people get more for their product? Because it gives somebody enough reasons to do it. So the loyalty effect that you're talking about is very important. You've got to tell them what you're doing for them. You can't assume they know. You got to tell them, I went this extra step, without bragging about yourself. But a good friend of mine once said, Troy, you need to learn to celebritize yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's not getting your ego out there. That's just saying, hey, by the way, this is what makes us different than all of our competitors. That's an easy statement to make, but they don't know that you're staying after work to do something for them, that you're getting up early to do something for them. Hey, I got up early today, Natalie, and I did X for you. I did this because you're very important to me, and I know you expect me to keep you up to date on all the things I'm doing, but this is the way we serve our customers. That's not a braggart. It's just telling you I did something for you. So there's a lot of little things. Language is super important, the way you talk to people. When you talk to them, the cadence. If you want your customers to stay with you, whatever business you're in, doesn't matter. You need to touch them at least 7 times a year, minimum 7 times to be top of mind. Otherwise, they're getting advertisements through the internet, through the TV, through the billboards. Everything's coming at them. They get choices thrown at them all day long. To differentiate yourself, you've got to touch them 7 times a year minimum, and it's got to be effective.
Well, what you're leaning into as well is, a lot of times we want to make that customer relationship transactional, but what you're talking about is transformational. As you were talking, I was just thinking about the saying that trust is gained in drops and it's lost in buckets. It's this whole idea that you have to let them know that you're advocating for them, that you're thinking about them. And I love that stat there, that they have to be, you have to hear from them, or they have to hear from you 7 times a year, which I think if we would step back and think about it, I don't know that that's really happening in a meaningful and effective way with a lot of businesses.
And that's the key, meaningful and effective. And the language we use is important, the timing, but really being sincere. It's not a check the box type of deal. And just contacting someone once a year. That's not enough. Too much changes. Look at the world we're going through. There's a tsunami of change being thrown at us like never before. And everybody's just trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to pay my gas bill? My mortgage is going to go up. All this is happening. They just want somebody to hold their hand through the maze of madness. And it's out there. Everybody's dealing with it. And then we just need to step back and, to your point, have it be meaningful, and if you care, they know it. They can feel it.
Well, I also think about the fact that I'm sure generationally, people get value in different ways, even generationally. And so part of, even as I'm just listening to you, I'm thinking, wow, the way that I would reach out to a customer in their 70s is probably going to look a little different than the way I would reach out to my customer that's maybe 25 years old. But at the end of the day, it still has to happen. But again, creating that transformational moment for each of them may look a little different.
I agree with you completely. But let's step back just a little bit. The language we use is going to be different with somebody in their 70s or their 80s. But the way we communicate with them today, I'm shocked. We do a lot, as a consultant, I work with very, very large companies. And you'd be shocked. 80-year-olds text, right? They text just as much as kids. But they wouldn't understand if a 20-year-old's texting them. They don't understand the slang and all the things that go with it, right? So I'm just in my early 60s. I'm 61. So I've got to deal with the 30s and the 20-year-olds. I got to deal with the 70s and the 80-year-olds. And so I've got to have a message that resonates with each one of them, but I've got to talk their language. That's the important thing.
That's so impactful. I just think about how important customer loyalty is. We have all been looking at the news. We've been watching the rise of AI. We've been watching the rise of all the chatbots.
Yeah.
And I think that, people feel this nervousness that, jobs are going to be taken away and things like that. And there will be some shifting in markets and economies for sure. But the idea of being human and creating that transformational relationship, I just don't see how that changes, especially with what you brought to the table of stopping by. Whether it's picking up the phone and calling, stopping by, having a coffee, or just bringing a coffee by. The idea of that humanness, you can't, program that into an AI.
I agree completely. So AI is going to change everything. We know that. But so did the internet. So did the iPhone. Everybody was afraid of the internet. They're going, oh man, our privacy and all these things. And look, some of it's true. The things we worry about, there's a little bit of truth in it. But we have to just step back and go, okay, what's going to work for me with AI and what's not? But you just hit it on the head. People really want somebody. They want a face. They want a name. And think about it yourself with bots as an example. I'm on a plane, 3 or 4 days a week, and I'm always trying to talk to a bot. But I break the bot every time. I break it. And I do because the bot isn't a human.
Right.
I need somebody to help me with my issue. I might start it with a bot. I might start it an article that I might write with AI. But man alive, it's got to be me. It can't be a machine. So I'm in total agreement with you. I'm in awe of all the technology, but it's there to enhance. It's not to replace.
That's so good. Talk to us about some of the books that you've written and how we can get access to those. Maybe one of the ones that you'd like to put forward today that could be, transformational as appended to this current conversation we're having.
You betcha. So, if I was in insurance and financial services, which a lot of your listeners are somehow involved in that, Inflection Point, the one right behind me, probably is the best one. For people that are just in business, it's an insurance book, but Discussion Partner is what we're talking about. It's having a different mindset. It's written for the insurance professional, but I get a lot of real estate people, a lot of small business owners that go, that book helped me, and it was about insurance. So you can find me on Korsgaden.com. But look, there's a lot of great information out there, and I was honored to write this article because the article you don't read can't help you, And so I learned things from dentists. I learned things from folks that write for worship. I learned things from people that are in retail. we take a little bit of everything and we apply it to what we're doing, and that's what makes us better.
That's so impactful. What final thoughts would you have for our listeners as they think about everything you said? Just kind of give us that final nugget or that final thought.
You know what? I'm not perfect, and I will never claim to be. I'm very focused, and I think the calendar was one great nugget we can leave people with, but the other one is we're all passing through. And so when you're here, be where you're at and do the best that you can in whatever vocation you're in today. And that would be the nugget I would leave.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Natalie. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining the Thrive Today podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode on your social media platforms and tell other women about this leadership podcast. You can follow Troy on LinkedIn or head over to korsgaden.com to learn more about his books. And let me ask you a question. If you haven't taken the time to step into community, what are you waiting for? Head over to thrivetoday.com to learn more about our membership subscription. And don't forget to thrive. We'll see you next time.